I believe in freedom of speech, so corporations can do whatever they want with mine. Are you fucking retarded?
The only democracy I like is when Trump gets back on Twitter.
Property? Oh man, that's as good as it gets from this guy.
Shut your mouth!
So the U.S. government should invade Google with like tanks and guns and shit.
Oh, why is he asking me for things again?
Money. Are you fucking retarded?
These platforms are giving you more of a voice, and you're acting like all they're doing is taking it away. It seems like the public pushes for certain types of TOS and certain types of moderation because that's the type of platforms they want to be on. What happens when everybody leaves your free speech and you guys stay there and it becomes the new 4chan because it's just you guys again?
Good warning.
Yeah, go ahead.
Cool. Tom, why are you on YouTube? Get out while you can. It's not safe. Get out! Get out!
No, he's got nowhere to go.
Yeah, I was on podcast platforms for a while initially. Then I started streaming on Facebook and then went to Twitch. And I did really well on podcasting, Facebook, Twitch. Like, I did really well on all those platforms. But I got banned everywhere. And then YouTube's the only one that actually lets me hang around now. So... but I don't do well on YouTube at all.
Wait, you got banned?
Like, I get banned all the time.
Wow.
Yeah.
That's
And that doesn't make you want to go off on certain people?
yeah, like...
It should.
I mean, not really. Like, I believe in freedom of speech, so I'm perfectly fine with people using their platforms how they choose.
I believe in freedom of speech, so corporations can do whatever they want with mine. Are you fucking?
No, I didn't say with mine. I said with theirs.
Bruh.
Yeah, it's not their speech.
It's
like
their
legally.
platform.
No,
It's your
legally,
thought.
it's not like their.
No,
Like, it's not
legally it
their
is. Literally,
freedom of
legally it
speech.
is.
Okay, but
Legally,
so Tom,
it literally legally is
you
their
recognize
speech.
that if you believe in democracy, you recognize that like there has to be like where the political conversations are happening, wherever that is in a democracy, there has to be like all sides represented and viewpoints represented, or else it goes bad, right?
Yeah, and I don't like those things existed before Twitter or YouTube or
But
Facebook.
now that's where they're happening, and so if
Right.
you care about our democracy, you should be the one leading the charge to step in and say,
Oh,
So-
we don't have a
democracy is so gay.
if it started happening, like, let's say,
I'm
like
appealing to him
the
from his
Republic.
viewpoint. I'm not arguing pro-democracy.
I know.
So, let's say
it
that
just makes
they-
me cringe hearing it.
The only
Like,
democracy I like is when Trump gets back on Twitter.
Yeah.
So let's say everybody starts having those conversations at your house. Like, should we now regulate your house and what you can or can't do at your house or with your house, like your property, because we all decided to start having those conversations there?
No,
Yeah,
but YouTube
but-
isn't someone's house.
And I
They're not going to
encourage-
take me along.
It's somebody's private property.
Private property.
Yeah, but
If the future
kind of?
is
40% of all the people on Earth use it every single day.
But it's not their property. It is
Oh
Twitter's
my
property.
god, dude.
Wait, oh my god.
I know that you're too dumb to respond to the
Let
things
them
I'm
shut the
saying.
fuck
So you'll say
up.
private property? Oh man, that's as good as it gets from this guy.
Shut your mouths.
All right,
What you
go
were saying?
ahead, Mio. Yeah, Mio, use that mute button if you need to.
All right. But yeah, so this is, if the future of America is being decided at my house, then it is the responsibility of the American government to regulate wherever that's happening in order to protect the democracy, if you care about that, right? That should be your first and foremost priority if you care about preserving the system in our
That's
democracy.
7 to Mio.
I feel like if they start regulating it, it stops being free.
Well, it's already
Well, no, but
regulated.
they're
They're like
making it-
violating
it's
the
making more
laws that
free.
exist.
It's
already regulated. Oh.
It's less freedom for the corporations to stop our free speech. That's what it is. That's just a little word trick, because it really, it opens up again. What matters in the democracy is that all viewpoints are represented, and so if you care about the democracy, then you should care about our viewpoints being represented where the political conversations are happening.
I mean, again, you keep saying where the political conversations are happening. They're happening everywhere all the time. And
Okay,
you're
but what are
saying
the most influential? What are the most influential 5 places that political conversations are happening?
The social media platforms.
Okay,
So
well
wait,
then
Tom.
there you go. So that's why we're targeting those specifically right now.
I
It's
understand
because right
why.
now the system is fucking us over, and that's why where our complaints with the system like originally began. That's where many of us realized that there's something wrong with the system itself.
Yeah,
because it's
So-
fucking us over.
I completely agree, and like I understand as like from your point of view, you would like it's necessary for you to fight those fights. Like you have no other choice because otherwise you don't end up with a voice. My point is that like I understand that that's necessary for groups who aren't getting their voices on those platforms, but I don't like I'm not authoritarian in any way whatsoever, so I don't believe in like forcing companies to let other people speak and overriding their freedom of speech.
Well, no, because you're a Democrat, like a small D Democrat, right? You believe in democracy.
Mm-hmm.
So, Tom,
So
I have a
that
question.
like violates democracy if you allow groups of powerful people to like completely blacklist certain groups of people from a political discussion.
Well,
Like,
that's
does
part
that not
of freedom
violate
of
democracy?
speech. Yeah, like that is part of freedom of speech is like shutting down other groups and making like lots of people use their free speech to shut up other people.
No,
insanely
it's not
common.
speech.
That is the
it's
most
censoring.
Jewish thing I've ever heard. What?
You don't
So wait,
believe
Tom.
that happens?
It happens, but why is it happening? It shouldn't happen. That's not
Because
freedom of
people
speech.
have freedom of speech. That's why.
No,
like you
I
can
think it's
shut
happening
other people
because-
up with your own speech.
I think it's happening because people smoke vapes and not American Spirit cigarettes. So I think if you switched over, I think it might change your opinion on this.
I'm sorry. I actually believe that my body is my temple, so I can't do
So
that.
Don't you want
If
the
you
American Spirit inside of it?
Tom,
if you start,
Instead
you
of,
should read the Bible sometime, and you'll start to understand kind of my
Tom,
point
don't
of view
you
on
think
it.
though?
Yeah,
don't
it's
you
always
think,
some
I read
though,
through the New
patronizing,
Testament very
dismissive shit.
recently.
Tom,
Like I finished
if you
the New Testament about last week.
Tom,
Sorry.
if you agree with what Mio's saying, that like the 5 main avenues of public discussion today on a variety of issues are social media. I understand what you're technically saying is like technically like yes, this is the legal way to go. Like this is technically private property, but don't you think it would be better? Don't you think it would be more utility for all of us if we took those avenues from the private sector into the public sector and move it to where we could all voice our opinions instead of just being drowned out by somebody who just doesn't like what we're saying?
Yeah, I think those places should be created, and they do currently exist. Just people don't want to go there, right? People don't like it there, so they don't.
A lot of
go.
people that
But-
go in there. The people who
I
have
have a
who have a
question.
bent towards freedom of speech have been going there. But this is
Yeah,
the problem. Is
like-
a lot of people are propagandized into not wanting it by let's see what the Protestants, God's chosen people, So it's like that's kind of like the issue, right? It's like we have like massive brainwashing on like a industrial scale now. And I think it's gotten into your brain too, honestly. So like, the fact where we can start companies like Google, it's like started by the US government essentially. And now it's morphed and transformed into this whole thing where it does the opposite of the First Amendment. It doesn't adhere to the one of the most basic tenets of the US Constitution. So it's like there's Bill of Rights, I guess. But
Yeah, I think it's the government's job to protect your speech, but not to give you
right,
speech.
so the U.S. government should invade Google with like tanks and guns and shit. And
Google gets hundreds of millions of
Restore
dollars
First
from the U.S.
Amendment.
government.
Yeah, as I'm saying, it's not their job to give you speech. Like
No, but they're part of the
No,
government.
it's
They are
open
so
it.
large now that they're completely like built together with the government.
Mhm.
So
I mean-
it actually is
isn't that
in
like
our
one of
rights
the
to
largest
demand that they.
stocks or something that U.S. congressmen hold? It's like Apple and Google. Is that am I incorrect in that? I know Apple is one of them, but anyone want to fact check me on that?
Yeah, again, we're gonna differ pretty big on like, economic things because
So
I'm-
what? Because of like the technicality of you thinking that like, well, it's their house, so they can do what they want. That supersedes like millions and millions of people from being able to conversate in the political sphere.
Well,
like
so
that little technicality is more than the idea, the nuanced concept of free speech.
no, again, I'm saying I'm fighting for free speech, but I think that private property is part of freedom of speech. Like that is a huge importance when it comes to freedom of speech. So say like
right. So
I
you
start
think like a certain council of like, 20 people should be able to dictate what is allowed to be talked about in terms of politics on
on their
massive
private
scale.
property. Yes.
It's not a private property though. It's owned by the government. It's facilitated with the government.
Can you show me where they own it? Can you show me that?
God.
Where they own it? Oh
Dude,
no!
they
You,
get-
oh,
dude,
oh
they
no!
get
He's asking me for
hundreds of
things.
millions of dollars in government
Oh,
grants every
why is
single
he
year.
asking
That's
me for
literally
things
taxpayer
again?
money. Are you fucking retarded?
I know that. That's not what you said though. You said they own it. That's different.
Well,
Okay,
Tom,
so
this
you're
is the
just
problem.
nitpicking. You understand
No,
what
I'm not
saying.
nitpicking. I'm
the
saying
American
pays
taxpayer
for it, then the
directly
government has
involved
You're
in
kind of
funding these
nitpicking, just a
companies.
little bit.
it's not nitpicking. It is a massive
a little
difference
bit.
to
No,
go
you're
from.
nitpicking.
You're
Nitpicking.
Okay,
For all intents and
okay,
purposes, the U.S.
cool.
government is involved. Therefore,
Yeah.
you could say they own it, and
So-
it makes the same sense for the sake of the argument.
Cool. So, do I own Cozy? Can I start
See,
making
so-
demands of what's
so
done on
stupid.
Cozy because I made some
No.
donations to Brittany?
Super chat.
No,
is
but I
done.
but I gave her
Cozy.
money.
The last super chat
I
was
gave
mine.
Cozy money, guys. So I own Cozy now. That's his argument. Government gives Google money, so
Actually,
now
that's
not
government
true,
owns
because I
Google.
never
That
said
is his
any of that.
argument.
Well, I don't give Brittany money. She actually owes me money. So
I paid for big tech to come on stream, so I have now funded Cozy, and I now own it by default.
Remember that
Apparently,
time I refunded somebody $75 to kick you off? So I guess we're kind of even.
well, you also like muted me the very next time. So
Okay, Tom. Here's a question. If it's YouTube's freedom of speech to decide what opinions are and aren't allowed on their platform, does that mean they should be legally liable for all opinions put onto the website?
Yes.
I would say if they don't moderate them to some extent, or they're not making any sort of good faith effort to moderate them, then yes, they should be held responsible to some extent.
Okay.
I have another question. So when was speech like that incorporated technology not on some level, in any point in time in American history, like not on some level curated? Because someone earlier said that like, hey, this is like the first time where big corporations can control speech, but like ABC during like the 70s, NBC.
That's exactly where I was about to go.
Yeah,
All those are
they
created
all
with that,
they all
no.
on some level controlled and curated what happened on those networks, right? I can't think of a single time. I can't think of like antebellum gazettes and things like that that didn't on some level curate what those publications had, and what was said on those like publications. Like editorialism has been like a thing for like centuries.
Yeah, but that was the beginning
I'm
of the
kind of
end.
confused on what the person. I don't know who said that honestly. I'm just kind of confused on what they're talking about.
Well,
Well,
that's
it's-
a problem though. Still, I mean, like having that example of like, well, you have NBC and CBS and ABC, like that's still a problem. I mean, we know that, for example, the mainstream media very well can have a bias, and that, I mean, I think you're kind of proving our point. I mean, regardless of not, or if you were like, I don't agree with the point that this is the first time big corporations have ever ran what we ingest news-wise, but it's like that doesn't mean it wasn't a problem back then or now.
I feel like
It's
you
still an
guys are
issue.
like taking the whole point in freedom of speech and acting like it's a problem. Like them having their own bias, them having their own agenda, them having their like
These
the things
biggest
that they
companies
want
that have
to
ever
do.
existed that are more
That
powerful
is
than
the
most
point
empires
in
human
having
history.
freedom of speech, so that they can say what they want and influence people the way that they choose.
Well, this is our real problem with this. It's not that, oh, well, Twitter has freedom of speech or Twitch has freedom of speech or whoever, and the people who own those. It's that these a handful of people have monopolized the modern day place where everybody speaks free speech. So it's not to say, and like, yes, do they rightfully own it? Of course, but I think we need to have a meta conversation about like, well, if you own 95% of a blowhorn and you say, well, you still have 5%, that's obviously not giving me free speech because I'm never going to be able to voice my opinion over 95%. It's just
But
kind of a ridiculous. I mean,
all
like,
of that-
yeah, technically they own it, but we should be asking, is it right for a handful of people to own something like this?
It will always be impossible for them to equalize on these things, no matter what. It will always be impossible to. Now, I understand like there are issues with capitalism, and this is more issues with capitalism than it is freedom of speech, but we now have more of an ability and more of a voice. The common people now have more of a voice than they ever have in the history of the world, because we have social media, because we have YouTube, Twitter,
Well, we
Facebook,
had more
all of these
than
things.
we do now 3 years ago.
Well, social media and
That's
also
what I'm saying. We keep getting more and more.
Social media
No, it's
is
worse now.
is a recent phenomenon. Social media hasn't always been a thing. Like
That's what I'm
there's,
saying is
it's
social
like
media has
pre-social
given us
media.
more speech.
Except we have less speech now on social media than we did 3 years ago.
because
You
social-
do. The
because
rest of us
social-
don't.
it's
social
the
media.
illusion.
That's our point.
Well, yeah.
That's
media
literally
is
the
a-
fucking point.
Hey, I have
Well,
another
inherently
question, like,
centralized. That's the
No,
point.
no, no, no. Hold on. Nick currently has his own website with thousands and thousands of people on it. He has
Alright, so how
more
did we
of
get-
a
how did we-
voice.
so get
Hold
out
on,
of here.
hold on,
Get to
hold
the
on,
point.
hold on,
How
please.
did we
Let
get
me
to
make
that
my
point?
point. You don't know what I'm saying. He has more of a voice today than anybody ever had 20 years ago and farther back. Like he has, and so do the people in his chat even, have more of a voice than anybody in the history of the world. These platforms are giving you more of a voice, and you're acting like all they're doing is taking it away.
What
I think it's an
Nick,
illusion of
Cozy
having a
exists because of the mass censorship. What are you talking about?
Well, yeah, exactly. Like this. What platform is giving
I
Nick
have a
voice?
question. Like, just
I
like,
did-
say down the line, if
Cozy.
the government does seize like
The internet.
major platforms like Twitch or Twitter or Facebook or YouTube or whatever, like, what stops like the private sector from like just building something that's more innovative and more exclusive and more sexy than these platforms that the government seizes?
Well, I
Exactly.
don't think the government should seize them. They should just enforce the already existing regulations.
Okay, like, well, if they enforce those regulations and if someone builds a platform based on exclusivity, like, and then people
They'll get
flock towards
destroyed.
that, and that gets marketed better because like the private sector can market better than the public sector can, unless you guys want to disagree.
No, it'll
with
just
that.
get taken off the App Store.
Well, so let's say, okay, so let's
Absolutely.
This
say,
happens constantly.
True.
People try to
Real-
make
What is
other
something-
alternatives and they get crushed.
not if they're regulated
Why do
though.
they
So
get
let's
taken off
say,
the App
let's
Store?
say
exactly.
Twitter,
And that's the point.
Facebook,
We can't
let's say,
have unregulated. We can't.
The-
There's no unmoderated thing that they'll allow on these app stores. That's really like the whole crux of the issue, right?
Right.
No,
So
Google
let's
takes all
say,
this money
hold
from
on,
you as
hold
a-
on. Let me ask a question real quick.
Oh my god!
I
adhere to the
gotta
Judeo-
ask this question.
All right,
because-
wait, Tom, can I get in there real quick before you do, bro?
Go ahead. This is
All right, yeah, so
go
let
ahead.
me explain this a little bit more. Say like down the line, say 5 years from now, like Trump gets elected as president, or DeSantis, and they like seize like all the major social media platforms, and they're now public companies, right? What stops like a private sector company or firm from building something that's like really sexy, really hot that the people flock to? Just like Twitter is now, except something that's not owned by the public, like the hypothetical Twitter in 5 years from now.
Because these massive
Lack of
companies will just come and
resources.
buy them out or bog them down in legislation and hit them with lawsuits and all sorts of shit and bleed them dry. That's what they do every time. They have infinite amount of money, infinite amount of lawyers, and they can just destroy anyone you want. And then you just say the only people that use this are anti-Semitic and homophobic, and then they take it off the App Store and then they block it off of URLs and whatever else, just like they've done with every alternative that has been tried by dissident right.
But wouldn't
Okay.
the public sector, if it allowed free speech for everybody, like including like Nazis and homophobes and stuff, like, and if the private sector like did something that was like, hey, this is gonna be like, super sexy, it's gonna be more curated, we're gonna have more moderation in the public sector websites, like I don't see that case that you're making right there.
Because the
opposite
people
would
that
be-
are currently have the monopoly won't allow that to happen.
No, I'm saying in your hypothetical future. I'm just saying like say like
Yeah, but I'm
'cause
not
you guys
playing in a
want the public
hypothetical
sector
future.
to what?
We're operating in reality, dude. This is what
Yeah.
happens.
We're not talking about some dream
legislation
fantasy
and
like
also-
that.
and
What
also-
if Trump became the God Emperor
I
and
am-
killed all the tech
I'm not
giants
saying
and
Trump
we
become the
became
God-
we
you guys
own
are
it all?
pushing- You guys,
Homophobic.
wait. I might misunderstand you guys all the
Extremely.
way. You guys are misunderstanding. All right, or maybe I'm misunderstanding you. So, to my understanding of what you guys are saying, you guys want the public sector to swallow like big tech companies like Twitter and Twitch and YouTube and Facebook and shit, right? Where like
They
there's
already
no
have.
moderation at all, and like there's no banning people unless for things like child porn or something.
Yeah.
On like websites like Twitter. So the Groypers and like
Well,
the
Tom
other
might disagree
right
on that
people
one.
can say, can say like the wild shit that you guys typically say.
No,
on social
what
media,
we're
like,
saying, what we're
without
saying
moderation.
is, what we're saying is, there's little to no public sector. Like they're just consumed anyway by big tech and big government.
Okay.
And we're
Okay,
just
I could have.
Hold on,
constantly.
Okay, I
hold on.
misunderstood.
Let
I
me-
could have sworn
let
that
me
someone
get
said earlier that
Well,
they
let's
wanted
not-
the
let's
public
not
sector
say
to
what he's
swallow
been
the
trying to
arms.
say.
Okay, so let's say that the government does regulate the big five. You know, Twitter, Facebook, YouTube, all of these guys. They regulate them, and they're all like 4chan now. And they're free speech. Everybody can say whatever they want, and everybody's allowed. No ideologies, taken away. And then let's say another private company comes out with another smaller app where they do moderate their stuff, and everybody leaves the free speech one, which right now they all could go to 4chan, but they don't. It seems like it seems like the public pushes for certain types of TOS and certain types of moderation because that's the type of platforms they want to be on. What happens when everybody leaves your free speech and you guys stay there and it becomes the new 4chan because it's just you guys again, and we all go somewhere else where we want moderation and we want a specific type of platform? What then? What do you
things.
moderate them now too?
Isn't that
Two
actually?
things. The public
We have a word
doesn't
for that.
want
It's
that.
called
They're
I will.
told to
Hold
want that.
on. Wait.
And the other, no, but
I need to get
then
rid
the
of
other thing is what you would do is you don't like cite specific companies in regulation. You cite like monthly users, and then that's how you like determine the regulation. So like that couldn't happen. You couldn't outgrow the regulated companies because you then become a regulated company.
So you're saying people who don't want to hear you guys, you would make it to where they have to hear you, even though they don't
I
want
mean,
to. They already
on-
know what
on
you say.
Twitter-
They already know what you believe, and they don't care. They want to stay away from you, and you're saying you have to listen to me.
On Twitter, people post like pornography, but my timeline doesn't have any pornography in it because I don't follow people that post that.
Right.
So like, it's not like you're just going to be like forced into like right-wing Twitter or something because like regulations say you can't like silence people. Like people will still have like things curated to them.
Sure, to an extent, but they still want moderation. Like they want TOS to have, like TOS is what it is because that's what gives the people what they want. It's capitalism, like at its finest. They are doing what they can to get people on the platform, and so that's what people want.
Well, and I think you can ban words like on Twitter. I think that you can like make a list of words that you don't want like posts that have those words in it to show up. So I mean, you could create your own TOS.
Yeah,
and you just wouldn't be showing anything you don't want to see.
To an extent, sure. But like people still will report somebody just popping into like, Britney's comments or something, right? They'll get upset with something they say there and go report them to get that person taken off so that they don't have to see them in Britney's comment or replies again.
Well, yeah, but that wouldn't be enforceable. Like it'd be illegal to enforce that.
Right, but my point is that like they still, that is part of their process of not seeing these things, is getting them banned and taken off the platform so that they don't have to see it.
Well, I think a good analogy, like a good sideway, like a good corollary to this is like we all have a right to the sidewalk, and I can go out to the sidewalk and hold up a picture of an aborted baby, and they can report me to the police all they want, but that doesn't give them the right to say, well, now we're going to go make our own sidewalk to walk on because we don't want to see this aborted baby. I think in reality,
but they
it's like,
can
yeah,
make their own sidewalk.
all you want. Well, I think
do that.
They can. It's called driveways. I have a sidewalk right in front of my house. I have a private sidewalk from my driveway to my front door.
Is it private?
Yeah, it's from my driveway to my front door. It's a private sidewalk.
Oh, well, okay. That's
or
not
walkway.
Really a sidewalk.
Sure, it's a walkway, but my point is like, yes, like we can have private places just the same where everything that happens the same, and it seems like that's where people gravitate towards instead of the places that you guys would be seen. They go away from the places where you guys would be seen.
No, because people go where everybody is. So if you regulate Twitter, people aren't just going to leave Twitter. Like we're going to leave Twitter because Elon Musk bought it. How many people left Twitter? Like
I
more
knew nobody
people
was
went on
going to leave
Twitter
over that. Yeah. But I
like
do
people
think
people don't just leave. The nature of social media is that you have to go to where everybody is.
but over and over, at where everybody is has changed many times. Like there was
Not really.
Zynga, there was MySpace, then there was Facebook. Like there were
Because those
platforms
companies
that disappeared
went out of
because
business, basically.
well, they didn't.
Technically,
They
they're in
were
business, but
they were booming when these other businesses started, and everybody left them anyways.
because they became obsolete. It's not like competition doesn't factor in at all. But it's not like people left MySpace because they didn't like the people there and like the people on Twitter better.
Well, they like
Arguably, you
the
could
platforms
say
better.
that happened to Facebook because that's all like boomers on there. But
Yeah, they like the platforms better. They like the style of the platforms better, which was MySpace's issue, is they gave you too much freedom with too many things, and lots of people, like there's tons of studies that show that people don't like actually that much freedom or that many choices. They want limited things, they want things very specific, and they want to know what they're getting. And like, yeah, free speech just doesn't seem to be the type of free, the tyrannical type of free speech that you guys are talking about doesn't seem to be what people want.
How can tyrannical?
people would want it if people were told to want it. People want what they're told to want.
Well, Tom, I have a quick question for you. So you're saying here that people basically, if we made this mass like public, like let's say we took YouTube and we took Twitch and we took all these places and we said this is all public sector now, and people are like, I kind of miss TOS, I kind of miss not hearing racial slurs, I kind of miss not hearing this, I kind of not, and they make something else. Mm-hmm. Are you basically saying like that would look like the TOS terms that we have today on YouTube and Twitch? Because there's still wide varieties of people from a lot of different backgrounds who don't, not only Nazis and Groypers or whatever, that don't like the TOS now. That's why you have all of these crappy sites like Odyssey and Rumble and BitChute. I think in reality what we're facing here is that the reason why people are making all these alternative accounts is because the TOS systems that we have for Twitch and YouTube suck, and everyone realizes that. And from, again, not just from the far right wing, but from even people on the left wing, like people like Vosh, they shadow ban him on Twitter. Mm-hmm. I think that in reality, the reason why there's a demand for like public control of these things is not just from a right-wing perspective, it's from multiple perspectives, except like centrists.
Yeah, there's lots of lefties who want Twitter to be nationalized and stuff like that. And I want to be clear, I'm one of the last people that you guys would call a lefty coming over here and talking to you guys. So I'm not the person trying to get rid of you guys and trying to make it to where you don't have a voice. I'm the only person putting you guys on YouTube, right? So I'm not that guy, but I understand that is what people want. That is what most people want, and that's what people seem to be gravitating towards. And I do think that over time people would continue to leave platforms if they had, if they were spaces that they didn't feel comfortable in anymore.
I guess
just one question, Tom. Just one question, Tom. Mm-hmm. Why do you hate us?
What who is this? I know this voice. Hold on. Hold on a second. Yeah, that's what I thought. I thought that was Kai.
What's up, Kai?
What's up, Kai?
So what's up, guys? Hey, Tenrio. What's up, Rabbi Lampshade, Mio, everybody? We got Taj. We're so flipping back. What's going on, guys?
On.
I haven't seen you in a while, man.
Real.
What's going on?
Yeah, it's been a
good
second, dude. Thanks, bro.
So tell me, Kai, how do you feel about Trump's speech? Were you as upset as Nick was?
Probably not. No, I didn't think it was the end of the world, but obviously it's sad to see that a lot of the energy has subsided. I think, if he tries to do a Youngkin kind of run, I think that'd be good. I think he can kind of run on the economy, but he has to be doing it in the right way. And he has to be pointing out hey, look at the midterms. Look at the freaking midterms. Look, the gas got cheap and then it got more expensive. All the oil reserves and whatnot are totally being butchered by the Brandon administration now. And that's how Democrats work. So if he's going to play the whole economic bit, if he's going to try to run that, then and that's, again, assuming they run Biden. Actually, I think the cultural issues are going to win out at the end of the day. And it's sad that, he's obviously still got people writing these speeches, and he's sticking to them more than he should. That was never what made Trump good. All the moments that people know Trump for are not moments that were written down for him the way that things are written down for DeSantis. But I will say, if he keeps this up, there's a far lower chance of DeSantis running against him. I think if he says these talking points, I would be very surprised if the establishment runs DeSantis against him, because he's just going to seem too similar.
Right. I will say this: the speech afterwards was pretty high. So it was more higher energy than the announcement he made for the running for president. Like, it was pretty good. Did you see that guy?
I didn't. I should have, though.
Yeah, it was pretty good. And it goes back to the point that Nick was saying about Trump wanting to make an announcement at one of his rallies. He wanted to announce that he was running for president at a rally, and I guess the people that had made his speech or whatever, like some of his advisors was like, no, don't do that, don't do that. And I guess I would say my theory would be like he was probably not feeling it. He was like kind of low energy. Like, yeah, I wanted to do that at this rally. It would have been awesome. It would have been Keno. And
yeah,
exactly. He brought that energy to that speech that day. I mean, that's my theory.
Well, are you talking about the one that he made right before the midterms? Because I watched that speech, and I was thinking the entire time, like, he should just announce. He should just announce.
Yeah, that speech right there. Yeah.
Yep. Yeah, he should have totally announced then. But admittedly, it was really cool for him to like do this very presidential like setup for the announcement, where it's like in this beautiful room, gold, plated stuff everywhere, the chats, or like the entire thing looks like ivory and gold. It was really,
I think
it was
that
cool.
speaks to Sneako's point.
There is
that
something to be said for the aesthetic.
I just really want to.
Oh, sorry. I was saying, I think that speaks to Sneako's point that he is trying like to be more presidential and look more presidential and act more presidential and do things the right way, because the first time in office, he couldn't get anything through. He couldn't get crap through. Even Republicans weren't supporting the stuff that he wanted to do. And it was mostly because of his beefs with all of them and the fact that they had issues with his style and the way that he wasn't like actually
that's on them, though.
Playing the game.
I don't think that's on him.
You say it's
that
on
was
them.
The swamp. I mean,
you say it's on them, but you're the one who can't get your policies through.
That's not what it is. It's that you have a Republican-controlled Senate and House, and they will not pass things that even the Republican constituency agrees with. When we're looking at like the border wall, that should have been done in the first 2 years of his time in office, but it didn't get done. You think that was because he didn't get it done? You think it was because he wasn't divisive? No, it was because there were elements in the House and the Senate. No. It's because people were working to undermine him, because there is an establishment in the right wing as much as there is on the left.
I mean, I think the establishment only had things against him because of his personal beefs with people and the way that he interacted.
You can't blame him for that. They're doing something to spite him.
It's never his fault.
Continue, the swamp culture, and they are doing it to the detriment of the will of their constituents. None of that falls on Trump.
I get that, but we're talking about pragmatics right now, and I'm saying that
there's
Trump
no
is choosing to be
dealing
more
with
pragmatic.
The swamp. It's vendettas.
Okay, I think that if he works with the swamp, he's able to make a lot more changes that way.
If he worked with the swamp, he still wouldn't get the border wall done.
You can say that, but I'm saying this is his best shot.
The swamp is going to curate Trump to what the swamp wants. Essentially, there is no working with the swamp. There should be no swamp. Period.
See, it's like what you're saying basically is that if he worked with the people who were undermining him, like getting stuff done with the border wall and pulling out of Afghanistan and whatnot, like we literally found out that there were military commanders who just didn't pass on his orders because they were actively trying to undermine him as he was trying to pull out of Afghanistan. And so you're saying, well, he should have just, cut back some of the spite for these people, should have cut back on the vendettas, should have worked with them. If he worked with them, they're not going to change their mind because they have a reason for undermining Trump's goals. And it's not just because, they had a beef with Trump. It's because Trump's goals align in a different direction. They align with the American people. They align with a new vision for America. And it's a vision that doesn't favor these people that have been in politics and in the establishment for decades.
Yeah, the people who want us dead.
Yeah, they don't stop wanting you dead if you are nice to them. It's like they still want you.
Exactly.
They still want you dead. They'll laugh at you capitulating. They'll laugh at you apologizing, but they'll still want you dead. They're just laughing at you.
Honestly, yeah, Trump was the only guy who actually took the fight to him. Most of the time, people and these politicians try to reason with the establishment, and they try to play all nice. You get somebody like Madison Cawthorn where that happens, and then it's like you get somebody even like Marjorie Taylor Greene where very early on, well, actually she's the opposite. She didn't want to reason with the establishment, and so they just try to push her out at the beginning. Unfortunately for them, she's very popular. She represents her base and is, very likable within it, for even how wacky she seems to many people. But when you had somebody like Madison Cawthorn who did try to play to the base so strongly, like he was supporting the Israel stuff, like if you look at his original announcement, the majority of his announcement was dedicated to his positions on Israel. And so we all made fun of him for that. But later down the line, he actually starts pushing these dissident ideas. He's aligning with Matt Gaetz. He's aligning with Marjorie. He's aligning with these other people. Boom. He is totally shut out of any kind of support for his reelection campaign. Did we see any mainstream Republicans pushing for this guy? No. And he was their face. He was the face of the midterms, right, for the Republicans. He was like, oh, look, it's the youngest dude we have in office. It's our AOC. But the moment he tried to push against them, they were like, we really don't care. We have different interests. We thought you were aligning with our interests. We thought you were playing nice in that regard, but now that we see that you're pushing a different direction, you're gone.
I mean, that didn't seem to work the first time around, so he's trying something different the second time around. It seems like the only shot is to do it this way. I understand that this might not be ideal, but it really seems like his only option.
Well, honestly, we really know what direction he's taken.
Of course.
It's just one speech at the end of the day. Like, we still have 2 more years to deal with, the entire campaign.
I'm trusting.
Trail. So yeah, I'm trusting the plan. Like I said before, like the very next speech he made afterwards, he was a bit more, high energy and talking about, things that really mattered than him announcing at that moment, which was, not as good. So,
we're just specifically talking about reading into this one thing right now, only because Nick read into it a lot. So that's all I was talking about.
What Nick was basically saying was, if this is Trump going forward, it's not going to look good. Like if you had to endorse him right then and there based on that speech, it would be very difficult to say the least. So.